ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. So we have seen various types of sadhanas, form of Bhagwan, Linga Rupa Bhagwan, Omkar Swarupa Bhagwan. Now we go into the Nirgun Nirakar Tattva. So the ultimate truth is absolute, it is one, it is infinite, it is beyond space-time objects, and that alone appears as various forms so that the mind of the seeker is purified, unified, and then ultimately transcended. Right. So we all seek the absolute knowingly or unknowingly. What we seek is supreme happiness, Paramananda. One wants to be happy at all times, in all situations. One wants to be free from sorrow. And what we seek is that infinite happiness. We may not know that, so many times we seek it outside. And hence, what happens when we don't know and we are seeking outside? So we get bound, we get attached because we identify with this. Vedanta says that that false identification is born out of ignorance. When we don't know who we are, then we assume that we are this incomplete body, mind, intellect, and then identifying with that, we act in the world. So the root cause of sorrow is not desire, the root cause of sorrow is ignorance. The manifestation of that ignorance happens through the desire, and hence we feel that desire is an expression of incompleteness, and a desire, if it arises and it keeps on troubling us, so we have to fulfill, and every desire fulfilled will create more new desires. So the cycle does not end until ignorance, the root cause of that, is gone. So how does one remove ignorance? The only way to get out of ignorance or destroy ignorance is knowledge. Darkness goes by light. So the light of knowledge, and this knowledge which is not verbal knowledge, not secular knowledge, is an intuitive knowledge. Because the ignorance itself is subtle. It is the cause of desire, cause of even vasana, which is unmanifest, which manifests as desire, then thoughts, then actions, then results. So we say that these are three knots of the heart: avidya, kama, and karma. So this avidya, kama, and karma, hridaya granthis they are called. They have to be removed, they have to be destroyed. In that, karma is action, kama is desire, and avidya is the ignorance. One may do as much nishkama karma as possible. That will only help to purify the mind. It will not remove ignorance. Action cannot remove ignorance. Action is only a means to purify the mind. One may have spiritual desires, even desire for mukti, which is good, which is helpful. Intensity of that desire will help us to drop all other desires. And it will lead us to satsang, bring the Guru into our life, and through the knowledge that the Guru gives, ignorance is removed. So this knowledge is the knowledge which is of the essential absolute truth, and the identity of the jiva with that. That I am not this body, mind, intellect, I am that infinite consciousness. Hence, one has to listen to this knowledge with full attention, with pure mind. So, Karma Yoga one has done, Upasana of the form one has done. So, mind has become purified, mind has become unified, single pointed, sharp, subtle. With such a mind, one has to go to the teacher. Listen to the Mahavakya. Specifically, that is the cure. One has to listen to the Mahavakya, the statements which help a person to understand the essential oneness of the Jiva with Ishvara. Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, I am Atma Brahma. These are the four major Mahavakyas. There are many Mahavakyas which are there in the Upanishads. So one has to listen to the teacher, reflect upon it, any doubts which come, that how can I be this, how can I be unborn, so many doubts can come. One clears those doubts, then one comes to the state of nididhyasana, where one steadily contemplates on the truth. And that contemplation is on the absolute truth. It has two steps: detached from who I am not, attached to who I am. And that is called nididhyasana. The steady contemplation, when we do, intuitive knowledge will arise. It will destroy the false notions about the BMI, and the intuitive knowledge of the self will arise that yes, I am that. The recognition will happen. Recognition will happen that I am the self. And that is Shiva Tattva. That is infinite consciousness, which is supreme bliss, auspiciousness. So, what we will do now from today, 6 days, including today, 6 days, we will use the 6 verses of Nirvana Shatkam, one verse each day, and contemplate on that. So Nirvana Shatkam, or it is also called as Atma Shatkam. So Atma is the self, the true self, who I am. That is the Atma, which is there in each one of us as Aham. It is not some unknown thing that we are searching somewhere. It's not God sitting up there. Every moment what we feel, Aham, that existence, and that itself is awareness. We are aware of that, and that is infinite, and it is absolute bliss. So it is Sat Chit Anand. That Atma, to know that Atma as the self, is Nirvana. Nirvana is not some state of mind that comes. Nirvana is the nature of the self, and hence Atma Shatkam or Nirvana Shatkam. This word Nirvana, many people think is connected to Buddhism. Nirvana, they keep on saying Nirvana, Nirvana. In the Gita also it comes much before Buddha. In the Veda actually it comes. Gita, of course, is the essence of the Veda. So, what is the Nirvana? In the 6th chapter, Bhagavan says, Yatha Deepo Nivatastaha Nengate Sopama Smrita. Or somewhere else he says, Shantim Nirvana Paramam Mat Samstham Adhigacchati. What is the meaning of Nirvana? Vata means air, breeze, and it is symbolic of the desires. And the mind is steady flame of fire, let us say. So a flame which is steady, Yatha Deepo Nivatastha, in a windless spot, the flame which is in a windless spot. So the mind which is not affected by many desires, which is not having those cravings, that mind is steady, And with that steady mind, when one contemplates, one transcends. Shantim Nirvana Paramam, one attains that peace which is supreme bliss, which is not peace of mind, which is beyond that. So this state of Atma, to realize that is Nirvana. It is not blank, it is not shunya, it is not thoughtlessness, it is not dullness. State of Atma, Nirvana Shatkam. Shatkam means 6. It's not Ashtakam. Ashtakam means 8. So 6 verses. And they are written by Adi Shankaracharya ji. Every verse has a pattern. And what is a pattern? 3 lines of negation. What I am not. 1 line of assertion. And that 1 line of assertion remains constant. 3 lines of negation, they keep changing. So, Mano Buddhi Hankara Chittani Naham. First shloka today. I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the memory, I am not the ego. Why I am not these? Because I can see these. The simple logic is what I see is different from me. So I know my emotions, I know my thoughts, I know the memories, I know the ego rising. I am the witness who is aware of all these. Mano buddhi hankara chittani naham. Nacha shrotra jihve, nacha ghrana netre. I am not the sense capabilities also of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. The senses contact the world of sense objects. Mind experiences some happiness or sorrow or whatever the experience is. I am aware of all these. Atma is the enlivener of all these, uninvolved, unaffected, observer of all these. So, senses, I am not the sense organs, I am not the sense faculties, I am not the subtle body, mind, intellect, memory, ego. Nor am I the cause of these. The cause of the sense faculties, the cause of the sense objects, the cause of the subtle body is the 5 elements. So, nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuhu. I am not any of the 5 elements. Anything combined with, anything made with a combination of these 5 elements, I am not. Which means this body also, subtle body also, prana also, all. So, if I am not these, then who am I? Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am of the nature of consciousness, bliss, and auspiciousness. Now, when we say I am of the nature of this, what do? We assert that our true self is this. I am not the mind, beyond thoughts, beyond emotions. So, any thought that arises, any emotion that arises, I don't identify with it. One Mahatma gave a very nice example. He said that if a donkey comes here in satsang, what will you do? Will you jump on it? Will you sit on it? You may ignore it. You may let it go. You will not sit on it. He said thoughts are like that. 60,000 donkeys come every day. Will you jump on each of them and sit? He said you let them be. They come, they go. So when we are engaging in the world, when we have roles to do, when we have duties to perform, that's a different matter where we identify and we do, but we understand this is a role, this is not me. In contemplation, when we have withdrawn the attention, then we don't need to do anything with the thought. Let the thought be, let it go. Emotions come, emotions go. Sometimes one feels ecstasy, happiness, some sorrow comes, some memory comes. So none of that one identifies with. So I am not the mind, meaning I am not the passing emotions. I am the observer of these passing emotions. So even if the mind feels certain memories, they bring certain pain or certain joy or certain fear, The chitta will do that. The memories will bring certain emotions. And our mind has got extroverted most of the time. So in meditation, we are putting attention on the mind. So these things will come out because what is inside will come. The attitude of the sadhak is they come, they go. I am not in encouraging them, I am not resisting them. I am not seeking them, I am not running away from them. My focus remains on Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. So I am not the mind, meaning emotions. I am not the intellect, meaning any logical thoughts or ambitions or goals. In the seat of contemplation, I am not thinking any of this. Manaha, Buddhi, Chitta is memory. Memory gives rise to desire. Favorable memory gives rise to desire. Unfavorable memory gives rise to pain and fear. No identification with these. Let them come, let them go. Ahankar, I am the Karta. Even I am the meditator. My meditation is going well. Today meditation was disturbed. That identity that I am a individual, I am a finite entity, I am a father, I am a son, I am a friend, I am a spouse. I am none of these. Mano buddhi hankara chitta ninaham. Nacha shrotra jihve. The senses, they function, they bring different experiences. They are called jnana indriyas. So they will bring knowledge to me of the world, but they can't bring the knowledge of the self to me. Through them, the mind can go out. If I don't have proper awareness, attention, then easily the mind gets extroverted. We draw the senses. And one says, I am not the senses. So even if a desire comes, I must get up, or I must eat something, or I must see something, or I must open the eyes. One doesn't identify. Leave it. So I am not the senses. Then who am I? I am the consciousness which functions through the senses. I am not the eyes. I am not the ability to see. I am the consciousness which sees through the eyes. So in the state of contemplation, one has withdrawn from the senses. While engaging in the world, one knows, and as much as one can assert, one says, I am not the senses, and the pleasure or the pain of the senses is not mine. If the tongue tastes good food and it feels delighted, the tongue has tasted good food and mind is feeling the delight, I am the witness. That awareness has to come, that practice when one does. Then in the seat of contemplation also, when one has withdrawn, one can identify with that self. So all those five senses. I am not the senses, I am not the sense objects, I am not the sensory experience, I am not what the mind goes through. I am the witness. And I am not the five elements. Each of these elements have great power, and the whole creation is made up of these five elements. It is the material cause of the universe. But they are inert. This body, this mind, this prana, everything made up of five elements. But jada vastu it is. And so I am not these five elements. So once we negate all these, then what happens? We assert that I am Chidananda Rupaha. So what should be the state of the mind at that time? Are we imagining some form of Shiva? See, if the mind is wandering, if it does not abide in the formless, then there's nothing wrong. Have the form of Shiva. If the mind is able to lift itself to the subtlest levels where it drops false identification and one says, I am pure existence, I am consciousness, Chit, not Chitta. Chitta is memory. Chit is awareness, consciousness. It is aware of the presence of thoughts, it is aware of the absence of thoughts. So it is not a thought. So I am Sat, I am Chit, and I am Ananda, that uncaused happiness, not pleasure of the senses, not joy of the mind, not happiness or satisfaction of the intellect. It is the bliss, Ananda, which is uncaused because its nature is infinite. So Chidananda Rupa. Rupa there does not mean form. Rupa there means nature. That my nature is Chit Ananda. It is not a quality of my mind. It is the nature of myself, which doesn't change. Fire's nature is heat and light. Without that, it can't remain. A flower may have fragrance and softness and color, but that is not the nature of the flower. There can be change in the color, there can be no fragrance, there can be a flower which is not very soft, but flower will still remain without it. So it's not a quality, it is the nature. Chidananda Rupa. Shivoham Shivoham. It is the most auspicious, which enlivens everything, without which nothing will exist, without which nothing will be enlivened. That auspicious, pure bliss consciousness I am. So one will do this contemplation in which the rejection of the false has to happen, assertion of the truth will be happening. 2 steps. So that is what we will focus on. So the earlier steps which we do, those steps are a preparation for this contemplation. Like we did. So we will still use Om Namah Shivaya to make our mind single pointed. One may use the form of Shivji or one may use the lingam, whichever one likes. Or one can use Omkar, whatever one likes to keep in the mind to make it single pointed, and then we contemplate.